to a certain point. Do you agree, Joan?
But does it have to be actual detail? Can it just be, yes, the money's gonna be returned?
And that's what this group wants to
The
say.
mechanics of how it's returned, I mean, it's either talk about it in finance, bring it back here, if you want the actual mechanics, or wait and talk about it again when we're together. But, you know, like I said, the finance people understand how it's, and I can think about how it hurt, not hurt, but if I was getting money back, what I would, because I always think about how it impacts negotiations and restricted, unrestricted. But each individual fact member knows what goes on in the district.
Let me ask to the broader group so that I'm not like making all the ideas. We could make a recommendation to send it on back to continue the details of the return of the money, or we could make a recommendation here ourselves to split out the money that's being used to pay off the build-back piece and return the rest of the money to the district. I think those are the two possibilities. Am I correct?
So when you're saying
broadly,
it's a facilities
right,
back.
use part of this refund to pay facilities, which would
For this year's facilities.
which would eliminate the need for a bill back, but would reduce the amount of cash flow returned to district. So I think that's one possibility, and even that has details involved in it. Or do we just want to agree and recommend that this money be returned to districts with that to decide the nitty-gritty of that? So I'm looking to the group for thoughts about that. Directors?
I think it is a significant change in how we look at dollars, because we've always said the dollars follow the program and the kid, and then so we try to keep costs set, in relation to the actual. So the district has more control. So if they send kids, they know they're going to incur costs, so they have that decision making. Here you're kind of spreading it across to everybody.
So you're thinking, Joan, of send it on to fact with the concept that this will be
No, I'm
returned?
thinking
or-
that I would have an opinion as a program person.
Okay.
And that to change it at this point, I mean, is
I understand.
it's last year's money. We already had a process in place for last year.
I could call on people.
Oh, sorry.
Go.
And you were a good student, so you don't know how to look like you're otherwise.
She was always really well behaved.
I do feel a little lost personally in young people, so I really appreciate an opportunity to talk to my facilities person about what works best. And also a recent conversation where it seems like, depending on whether you've got high schoolers or non-high schoolers, how big you are, how not big you are, I think sometimes we do need the input of the financial people.
Well, I've kind of been listening to you, Joan, and again, I wasn't here last year, but I get the idea that it's kind of using, I mean, we didn't plan to do it before. It's kind of like paying last year's bill with this year's money or something. I don't know if that's the right example. Or changing expectations. The other way around.
Yeah.
Or changing expectations of how we do business in the middle without a discussion, and starting from now forward. So it's just a hard decision because my specialty is not finance, although I certainly have learned about it over time.
My new business, I listen to Janet talking, I do like to see us if we can present creating work that doesn't need to be created, and we're all spread so thin, I'm board for that. I'm just not a finance person, so I don't know when we talk about unrestricted, restricted, I get a little lost, so
And one more little layer in there, which is very important, why the finance people need to chime in on, is with cash flow, with deferral, you've heard of the deferral. And cash flow, how they would, I mean, it's all the same to us, on the county side of it. Yes, there are certain things that are more paperwork for my staff, but, I mean, there's $3 million going back. It's just, do you want to see it in one big cash check? Do you want to see it, reduce your apportion, or actually increase your apportionment to go back to districts on a monthly basis, that part. So it's all what cash is more important to the district. So
we're really looking for a recommendation from the group, and I myself am kind of torn. I've shared my rationale where I think it's probably not a good practice to change how the money is handled in the middle of the year. I think issue also. They probably will have a better concept of that than I do. So, do we have to have a recommendation?
Well, could we do kind of what we did with our other item at our last meeting? I would like to talk to my fiscal person because
And
we
it
have a new
seems very
person.
likely, given the time frame, that you'll have some time to
Okay,
talk to your
right.
fiscal
If they
people
come
in
early.
between the two
Yeah,
meetings.
if they come early, but
You could give them a
minimally I
call.
would like to talk because I know there are pieces of the fiscal that, you know, I certainly don't have knowledge of. There's pieces of the program that she doesn't have knowledge of. That's why we have two different positions. Certainly I would have an opinion, but it's not taking into consideration what she actually has to do with the money and how it's reported and everything. And that's her area of expertise.
So maybe just identify the two areas of discussion and focus for finance, and we'll, you know, depending on how you feel about it, make an effort to contact your finance person before that discussion moves forward. Is that okay? Nod your head, nod your head. Okay, I see your head nodding. No sideways, so that would be the discussion that we can move that forward. No, it's not repetitive, but. All right, so now we're at number 9, fee for service. And that would be.
Oh, the concept, yes.
Senate.
Okay, as you know, or may know, based on the recommendations of FICMAT, the Fiscal Oversight Committee met for a number of, I think they like.
Wasn't that many.
For me it was.
She just wants to talk about
Money, she doesn't.
The detail. 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3
something
or 4
like that.
times.
We met 3 or 4 times.
Oh, tons of meetings.
Yeah, well, to come up with just discuss the way the fee-for-service fell and the expense of the fee-for-service program in the county and show all of the data of every data you could possibly think of that we brought to the committee, position control, how we allocated out the admin staff, basically central office staff, which is the assistant superintendent, and then the IT people who served as county teachers in their classroom and all that. And all of that was apportioned out across all programs, not only West End special education, but the other 2 regions, Desert and East Valley. And then also our central office admin staff, student services administrator. She also serves alternative ed and community day school, so apportioning those salaries out, which is all based on FTE. So you know, but that was brought to the fiscal oversight committee. And the 3 providers were to bring information, and at this point in time, the issue with the county's been resolved. Ontario, Montclair, and Chaffey are still in the process of working on coming up with a method for calculating their fee for service. But so this is the concept that came up that the county has finalized, and this was approved to move forward from the Fiscal Oversight Committee. So what we're proposing is, and we've been in the process of establishing this for years within the internal business office, my staff. We have, for all the programs that are provided within county operations, we have used function in the account code to distinguish an STC expense that includes salary, benefits, whether it be teacher supply, contracts, whatever. Anything that's related to an STC class has a particular, it's 1110 for, doesn't mean anything you guys can find folks with, the function. So we can pull out costs related just to STC, we can pull out costs for preschool STC, all of these categories, community day school, RSP in community day school, and then the new one, called the low incidence category, is the low incidence itinerant services. Because we realized years and years ago that the low incidence itinerant fell under the DIS fee for service, and those staff historically have extremely small caseload, and it's not provided in the same caseload and format and structure and setting as a normal DIS teacher. So we're proposing a new category for low incidence itinerant, which includes those DHH, the VI and the O&M. And then also intensive autism has been a category that we've had for some time. Now for the last 3 years, just to FYI, the intensive autism preschool program has been supported by all the preschool RA money that we've had. So we've had some extreme cross savings in that category because of ARA, but now the ARA's gone, so it will be supported by fee-for-service. 1-to-1 has its own, and down below there, again, this won't mean anything necessarily unless you're familiar with the account code structure, but all of those numbers below the heading is the identifier of how we pull those costs. The related services are the APE, LSH, health services, OT, PT, CODAs, and SLPs. And then first class and infants, those are not fee-for-service programs. At the moment, the first class is funded by the federal preschool and the preschool low incidence grants, and then infants is supported by the funding for infants, the state funding for infants, although it is not paying for itself, so we have been offsetting last year to the tune of $103,000. We're offsetting those expenses by, last year it was money that we used to fund that program. If you recall, the infant program is still based on the old J50 unit model, and the costs have exceeded that model years ago. So we keep putting it up to, trying to get in the lobbyist agenda to change that, and of course with this budget it's not going to change anytime soon. But it does not pay for itself. And, okay, so looking at this model, the costs for certificated staff classified is broken out by major object code, 1,000s through 7,000, and the costs are pulled out of the county program by all these indicators, whether it be goal, function, or management, and we're able to drop the cost in. Then, but what is pulled out of here is anything that is supervisory or admin, those costs are allocated, rather than, because an admin goes across all categories, it isn't distinguished to one particular category. So down below on line 12 is all the management and principals that are allocated across all programs. Those costs are allocated based on a percentage of total direct costs, if you're familiar with the direct cost logic. And then indirect is applied to that. So the total cost of, and by the way, this was based on, I didn't revise this to first interim. This is based on the adopted budget for 11-12, but it hasn't been updated for first interim. But $31,125,257 were the total cost for the county program for each of the categories. Down below is the revenue, all revenue other than fee-for-service. So the revenue limit that is generated is assigned to the categories that actually generate revenue limit based on a percentage basis. And then any grants that we have or local revenue is credited to the column in which earns that revenue, that grant. And then it comes up with, down below, it comes up with the excess cost. That will be cost minus any revenue that comes in, any revenue other than fee-for-service, to come up with an excess cost. That excess cost then, we've applied the number of services, and these are services from 10-11, the number of services that generated fee-for-service in 10-11, to come up with what the rate would be in that particular category. So as the rate would be for, or excess cost, or the rate for SDC would be $14,195. Preschool would be $6,566, and so forth all the way across. The next line, I did for the Fiscal Oversight Committee was just for discussion to say, okay, that's what our rates would be based on the budget. These are what our rates currently are that have been adopted. Those are the rates, and the one